conference to recognize the 109 victims of homicide in our city. So if you can give me a minute to actually take a moment of silence for those who have lost their lives in the city of Oakland. 109 victims. Thank you. Today we come before you to speak about our 109th homicide of the year in the city of Oakland. And unfortunately, today is really tragic. All homicides are tragic, and the loss of life is really tragic in and of itself. And I feel sad for the amount of tragedy that we've experienced in the city of Oakland. But today is really disheartening because the most important, or what we should all consider the most protected people in our community, our children, are so sacred to all of us. And as a father of daughters, it really hurts to say that today I come before you and speak to you about the death of a 15-year-old young lady from the city of Oakland. Last night, approximately 23:30 hours, OPD officers responded to call at Alameda County Highland Hospital. We were responding to investigate victims who had arrived at the hospital suffering from gunshot wounds. The victim's family member drove him to Highland Hospital and dropped the individual off suffering from gunshot wounds, severe gunshot wounds. Unfortunately, the 15-year-old victim did not survive those gunshot wounds. What appeared to be a young 15-year-old girl driving in a vehicle with her uncle when they were involved in a road rage incident where another person in another car and her uncle began to have dialogue. And that dialogue led to arguing from one car to another. And then the other vehicle, someone in the other vehicle fired multiple rounds at the car, striking this innocent 15-year-old child. This child attends high school in the city of Oakland. She has friends in the city of Oakland, family in the city of Oakland. So tonight, I hope that everybody in this city wakes up and understands, finally, how much do we have to bring before the public? How many times do we have to cry out for help? How many times do we have to say to you that we are in a moment of crisis? Our children are in danger. This is a moment where everybody should feel saddened. If you haven't spoken out, you should feel saddened by that. If you haven't exercised your voice, you should feel saddened for that. The police department has not done enough. The community has not done enough. The leaders of this city have not done enough. Today, everybody in the city should be heard. When you have children, you understand. You understand when your kids leave home, you expect them to return safe. And so, in this moment, obviously, I feel the pain. I'm sure our entire community feels the pain. But let this be a calling to all of us. That we have to do something. We have to come together as a community to keep our children safe, to keep everybody within our community safe from the gun violence that all of us are being impacted by. I also this morning received an email from a community member. I receive emails very frequently from community members asking me what am I going to do to address gun violence in the city of Oakland. But this email today was unique. It was from a mother, a single mother with children, who actually included in that email, she included an audio of what she experienced last night, not related to the homicide, of what it was like for her and her children last night in East Oakland. That audio tape that she played showed 55 rounds being fired right in front of her home. And she told me in her email how much she was afraid. And in that moment, when I listened to that email, I clearly could see the fear that her and her family was experiencing and why. It's unfortunate because she called and we weren't available to get there as soon as we could. But this is just one story of many that are being traumatized by the violence in this community. I plead with the members of this community to come together. We're not going to arrest our way out of this. This is really going to take a collaborative effort to ask people to put down the guns and stop causing so much hurt and pain in our community. With that, I'll take questions.
Chief, you just said that this has to be a collaborative effort, that you're not going to rush your way out of this. Do you think it is fair to say, though, that if you had more officers at your disposal, that crime statistics would be going in the opposite direction?
I think it's safe to say that if we had more resources, we probably could prevent more instances like this. I'd like to say that I believe we can arrest our way out of this because I believe that our only response shouldn't be to put people in jail. It's truly my hope that we can get to people who want or have some reason why they would want to pick up a gun and use it and get them the support that they need before they do it. That's why the violence prevention programs that we fund in the city of Oakland, I think are good for our city. I think they're good for those that are in desperate need of that type of help. But I think there's a level of accountability that needs to exist as well for those that are not willing to accept that help, that want to continue to engage in that behavior. I really feel like in this moment, I think there's a need to have both, to have accountability, but you need resources in order to address this issue. It is widespread now. Every district in our city is being impacted. There's not one district in our city, all 5 districts, that has not seen a significant increase in homicides. And so that is something that we're trying to manage, and it's been really challenging.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
what is your solve rate for homicide?
Our homicide commander is here, and I can let him speak directly to our homicide solve rate, if you like.
So we had just last night, or actually this afternoon, we had double homicide charge, and so our numbers are obviously changing every day. But we, as it stands, on Monday we had over 40% solve rate for homicides year to date.
Can we please have your name, sir?
My name is Frederick, Frederick, Shavies, Shavies, and I'm the Oakland Police Department's Homicide Section Commander.
I'm sorry, Frederick, did you say there's a double homicide this afternoon?
There was a charging of a double homicide that had occurred in September. The suspect was arrested and charged with that crime.
So we're still at 109 homicides?
Yes.
Any details about this car involved in this shooting? What should be on the lookout for? Do you have any leads on suspects?
We don't have any leads on suspects. We have a slight description of a car as an Acura. We are working diligently. Our investigators are going back out, around the clock now, looking for additional video that might help us identify that vehicle. Typically, we would hold on to the video when we do retrieve it. Once, in this case, this is critically important that we get that video out to the public as soon as we can. So as soon as we have that video in our hands, we will be releasing it to the public and asking for the public's help in identifying that vehicle.
Chief, have you spoken to the young lady's family? How are they doing?
I have not personally spoken to him. I will speak to the mother before today is over. She has been here at the department. Obviously, you cannot describe the level of grief. I did speak to my command staff today about their interaction with the mother this morning, and it is truly a tragedy, and we're all sad for her. And she was here, and obviously, like any mother who would have lost a 15-year-old child, she's devastated.
So what is your response to the young woman, the email that you received this morning? What's your response?
My response is my apologies. It is so difficult to hear stories like that, but also to hear a tape and know that people in our city are experiencing that. And this is not, according to her email, not the first time that she's experienced that. And so it is always sobering, if you would, to hear, to actually hear it in real time, what it sounds like. To have this happen right in front of your homes. I think we all sometimes lose sight of the fact that there are some people that live in a sense of fear every day, and this audio tape was that reality check. That's what it feels like to live in fear, and that's why some people live in fear. And it's unfortunate that in this city, this has not been something that we haven't gone all hands on deck. Everything should be focused around reducing homicides, reducing violent crime in this city. Yes.
How many sworn officers would you like to see in OPD?
Well, I think our authorized staffing is 792. We currently have 55 of those positions that are frozen due to budget. I think it's appropriate to say, I'd like to be at full staffing. At minimum, I'd like to have full complement of nearly 800 officers to actually manage the high calls for service. But I think you can do a call analysis or look at historic call analysis or work analysis that have been done that clearly say this department should be somewhere between 1,100 and 1,200 officers. And so it's clearly the workload is humongous. We are being asked to do so many things in this city. We are being called to so many different crimes, and oftentimes this department is being blamed for its lack of responsiveness when we clearly just don't have the staffing to keep up with the number of calls that we're being asked to respond to. I keep saying that it's just a math equation. If you don't have enough officers to respond to over 1,500, between 1,500 and 2,000 calls a day, when you only have 105 officers being deployed every day, you can clearly see that you're not going to be able to manage that call load. And so it's just mathematics. It's just not going to happen. And so I think that's hopefully the conversation that we're having about what can we do and how do we manage this issue as it continues to grow, because the call count continues to go up. Yes.
What, in addition to the violence prevention programs that exist, what is OPD doing to build trust within the community, especially if you were calling on the community to help put an end to this violence?
Yeah, I've been doing a series called Conversations Towards Solutions. I've committed to go into every single beat in the city of Oakland. And we have 35 beats. So far, I've been to 17 meetings throughout this city. Every week, I'm spending evenings every week going to meetings and meeting with community members in their communities, sometimes in the virtual environment, but listening to community members, hearing from community about how we could work together, particularly at the block level. I'm really asking community members, just right in your neighborhood. Now, I'm not asking you to do a lot. Just get to know the people that are around you so that you can become familiar with your neighbors. Hopefully you can have discussions with your neighbors about how we can work together to reduce violence. So it really is my effort to go in and go right where the community is. And so that's my effort, and I'll continue to meet with every single beat in this city.
We have time for one last question, so if there's someone who hasn't asked a question, let's go ahead and
Chief, I spoke to Councilmember Warren Taylor, and he says there have been investments when it comes to public safety, whether it's the macro program and recently the new police academy, but they're going to take time for us to see those tangible results. So going forward, we're now tied up with last year's homicide numbers. What's going to happen between now and the end of the year? How do you see things improving? Are we going to see any improvement when it comes to public safety?
We'll continue to do everything we can at the police department. I'll leverage every resource that we have. I've pulled officers from behind the desk and put them out into the streets. I've had to move and collapse investigative units to move investigators over to our homicide section because of the high number of homicides. I think this idea of down the road, right, that you hear many people speak to. This is what things are going to look like in a year when these resources start to actually take shape, if you would. I think that's an insufficient response for community. Community needs help right now. We don't have time to wait. 5 homicides in 7 days. That's what we've seen. That's clearly showing us that every day that goes by, there's a potential for somebody to lose their life in this city. We have no time to wait for a program that for next year, next month, next week. We need help now. And so I think any response that I hear, that response needs to be about immediate support right now on the ground, organizing. And I'm not talking about just giving this department money. I'm talking about community organizing. I'm talking about standing up for safety in this city. This is not the chief asking for more police officers. I just want help. And that help can be in the form of violence prevention. That help can be in the form of community. I'm just asking for everybody to step up and do their part. It's not just a police issue. This is a community issue. Violence is a community's issue. And so we are just a part of that response. Right now, everybody needs to step up. And this is not about politics, or this is not about budgets. This is about saving lives. That's what this is about. I hope we can all rally behind saving lives. I think that should be the most important thing we do, is save lives. And so that's what I'm committed to. And as many times as it takes, I will come before you and make sure they hear it. All right. Thank you.